America surprised Japan with the powerful M1 Garand rifle during World War II. This video is intended solely for educational and documentary purposes. It contains no ideological or political stance. This was the weapon that changed the game, a symbol of industrial might, and a nightmare for the enemy, in the jungle, on the slopes, in the trenches. The M1 Garand, a semi-automatic rifle that American soldiers held with such confidence. The enemy could feel it. At a time when automatic weapons were still reserved for elite units, the United States put the Garand in the hands of every infantryman. The Japanese weren't prepared. In the Pacific, they were used to bolt-action rifles from the British, carbines from the Dutch, but not to a rifle firing at this speed. An American pulled the trigger, and the Garand fired, again and again. No need to reload after every shot, no pause, no mercy. A Japanese soldier had to manually work the bolt, chamber around, then aim and fire again. It was a clash between eras, early 20th century doctrine versus the industrial acceleration of America. The rifle weighed about 9.5 pounds. It fired the powerful .30-06 Springfield cartridge. Muzzle velocity, up to 2,800 feet per second. It had an 8-round en-bloc clip. Firing rate, up to 40 rounds per minute. Compare that to the Japanese Arisaka Type 99, their standard infantry rifle, just 5 rounds, and bolt action. But most of all, it was about reaction time. When every second counted, the Garand delivered an edge, not in drills, not on paper, but in real combat, in the caves of Okinawa, the jungles of Luzon, the volcanic sands of Iwo Jima. This is what the Japanese said in intercepted reports. They have weapons that don't need to be cycled. The shooting never stops. Our men fall without even knowing where the shots are coming from. That's not a rifle. That's an automatic, and they all have one. To many Japanese soldiers, the Garand seemed like something from the future. And American troops had a new kind of battlefield freedom. They could suppress, maneuver, react instantly, cover their buddies without hesitation. Now, imagine, mud, rain, sand, brutal heat, and the rifle keeps firing. No jamming, no misfire. Its gas-operated system was revolutionary. It didn't just push gas out, it controlled the recoil cycle and chambering of the next round. Engineer John Garand created a mechanism that could endure heat, abuse, and extreme conditions. In the US, he became a national hero. Captured Garands ended up in German hands. They took them apart. Reported to Berlin, brilliant design, impossible to mass produce at our scale. Even the Soviets tested the Garand. They admired its reliability, but concluded it was too expensive to build during wartime because this wasn't a rifle born of scarcity. It was forged in abundance of steel, factories, logistics. It wasn't just a soldier's weapon. It was a symbol of a nation's industrial supremacy. By 1941, over 600,000 Garands had been produced. By the end of the war, more than 4 million. In battle, the message was clear. If you had a Garand, you weren't outgunned. You were faster, more accurate, louder. This was felt on Guadalcanal, on Saipan, on Peleliu. In close combat, every shot could mean life or death. And there was one strange side effect, the ping sound. After the last shot, the Garand ejected its clip with a metallic ring. The enemy learned that sound meant the rifle was empty, so they rushed. But American soldiers adapted. They threw empty clips on purpose to trick the enemy into exposing themselves. And the ambush worked. The Garand wasn't just a weapon, it became part of the Army's character, confident, mobile, disciplined, a rifle of war, but also a symbol of a new era. It weighed just over 9 pounds, but in the hands of an infantryman, the M1 Garand became something much more than a tool. It was confidence, it was power, felt by every American soldier heading into battle. The firepower of a semi-automatic rifle offered an incredible advantage, especially up close. While a Japanese soldier manually cycled his Arisaka bolt, The American with a Garand could empty all 8 rounds in seconds, and those seconds were life and death. And then, the clip ejected with that famous sound, ping. Everyone nearby heard it. The Japanese tried to use it. If they heard the ping, they charged, hoping to catch the American during reload. But even that became a trap. Americans learned to drop empty clips to bait their enemy out of cover and strike. The .306 Springfield round was a beast, powerful enough to punch through cover, wood, even light bunkers. Its effective range was 500 yards, with optics, even more. And when a skilled marksman held a Garand, it became a deadly force. The bullet's impact was brutal. Even against body armor, survival was rare. The Garand struck a rare balance, heavy enough to absorb recoil, but light enough to maneuver easily. In jungles, on hills, through ruined cities, it remained deadly. Its wooden stock, soldiers used it in close quarters. It could take dozens of blows and keep going. This weapon wasn't just gear, it became part of the soldier's identity. They gave it nicknames: the Warhammer, Silent Friend, Old Man Garand. On Pacific Islands, it became a nightmare for Japanese troops. Its distinct sound, the bolt cycling, the continuous fire, sowed fear. Bayonet charges made no sense against such rapid fire. And even in mud, moisture, and grime, the Garand kept shooting. Its reliability was legendary. Even caked in filth, even with a clogged bolt, it fired. American engineers had built a machine that barely needed care. Its gas system was so well balanced. Even when overheated, the rifle didn't jam. And that saved lives. Compare it to other rifles. The British Lee Enfield was faster than the German Mauser, but still a bolt action. The Soviet Mosin Nagant? Reliable, but crude and not always precise. Only the Garand offered semi-automatic fire as the standard. It was a shift, a revolution in tactics. Americans could hold waves of attackers, assault positions, fight for hours, without reloading every few seconds. The M1 Garand let infantry fight differently, bolder, smarter, stronger. It changed not just the battlefield, it changed the mindset. It became a symbol of technical dominance and a clear message that the United States came to this war to win. That's why it's in memorials today. That's why veterans still carry it at parades, and why it's studied in museums. The M1 Garand, more than a rifle, it's the voice of an era when the world shook with gunfire, and America held the weapon that never let them down.